Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Paul here from FlexAir. I'm going to talk to you here today about a tool that we've been developing to help out with that tried and true skill that everybody seems to want, but nobody ever seems to master, especially early in their aviation career, and that is the humble, fine art and science of chair flying. It takes a little bit of imagination, a lot of imagination, a lot of back and forth to work on radio calls and trying to imagine different scenarios. So let's check out how we might use AI. Generative AI and the ChatGPT tool to help out with that. We'll focus on radio calls and procedural stuff. It's not perfect, it's experimental, we're still working on it, but let's see how it does. Hey, good afternoon. Let's go ahead and reset the scenario. Imagine we are in a Cessna 172 aircraft parked at the Gibbs line at the Montgomery Gibbs Airport. Our call sign is November 5757 Echo. To start out with, I'm going to dial up ATIS. What do I hear?
Good afternoon. Let's reset the scenario. You are in a Cessna 172 parked at the Gibbs line at Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport, MYF. Your call sign for this scenario is November 5757 ESHO, N5757E. Now let's dial up 80 and listen to the current broadcast. You can see the code in our conversation history. In this ATIS broadcast, the identifier is Delta for this particular ATIS update. The time of the broadcast is 1600 Zulu. Weather conditions include clear skies, visibility of 10 miles, temperature of 27 degrees Celsius, dew point of 12 degrees Celsius, and the altimeter setting is 29.92 inches of mercury. Winds are calm. Runway 28 right is in use for both arrivals and departures. You are advised to let ATC know you have information Delta when making initial contact. Now that you have the ATIS information, how would you like to proceed in the scenario, or do you have any specific requests or questions?
Here's my call to ground for taxi. Ground, November 5757 Echo, Cessna in the Gibbs line, taxi VFR with Delta.
Your radio call to ground control is clear and appropriate. Here's the response from ground control. Ground control. November 5757 Echo, Montgomery Gibbs ground, taxi to runway 28 right. You've received taxi instructions to runway 28 right. You can proceed with your taxi. If you have any more questions or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
Here's my read back to ground. Ground, November 5757 Echo, Roger, taxi 28 right.
Your read back to ground control is correct. You've acknowledged the taxi instructions to runway 28 right. Now you can proceed with your taxi. If you have any more questions, or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
Let's continue the scenario. Let's say I've taxied to the run-up area. I finished my run-up. I'm now at the hold short. Here's my call for takeoff. Tower, November 5757 Echo, takeoff 28 right, request left closed.
Your radio call to tower, indicating that you are at the hold short of runway 28 right, and requesting takeoff for left closed traffic, is clear and appropriate. Here's tower's response. November 5757 Echo, Montgomery Gibbs Tower, hold short of runway 28 right, left closed traffic approved, runway 28 right, cleared for takeoff. You've been cleared for takeoff on runway 28 right and authorized for left closed traffic. You can proceed with your takeoff. If you have any more questions or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
Here's my read back. Tower, 5757 Echo, cleared for takeoff 28 right.
Your readback is correct. You've acknowledged the takeoff clearance for runway 28 right. Now you can proceed with your takeoff. If you have any more questions or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
Okay, let's continue the scenario. Let's say I've taken off 28 right. I've made my left turn to downwind. I'm approaching the Abeam, and there are 5 other aircraft in the pattern. What other radio calls might I hear?
As you approach the Abeam position on the downwind leg with 5 other aircraft in the pattern, You might hear the following radio calls from other pilots in the pattern. 1. Aircraft A on downwind. Montgomery Gibbs traffic, Cessna 12345 on downwind for runway 28 right. 2. Aircraft B on base, Montgomery Gibbs traffic, Piper 67890 turning left base for runway 28 right. 3. Aircraft C on final, Montgomery Gibbs traffic, Beechcraft 54321 turning final for runway 28 right, full stop. 4. Aircraft D on final, Montgomery Gibbs traffic, Mooney 98765 turning final for runway 28 right, touch and go. 5. Aircraft E on upwind, Montgomery Gibbs traffic, Cessna 11111, departing runway 28 right, remaining in the pattern. These are examples of the types of radio calls you might hear as you approach your beam position in the downwind leg, especially in a busy traffic pattern with multiple aircraft. If you have any more questions, or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
Here's my call to tower. Tower November 5757 Echo. Sir, I'm blind on my interval. Can you call my turn to base?
Your radio call to tower, requesting assistance with your turn to base due to being blind on your interval, is clear. Tower's response might be, Tower, November 5757 Echo, Montgomery Gibbs Tower, Roger. I'll call your turn to base. Tower will assist you by providing guidance for your turn to the base leg. Please maintain your current heading until instructed by the tower. If you have any more questions, or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
Okay, let's continue the scenario. Let's say I've successfully turned to final. I got clearance to land and I landed. I am exiting the active runway. Here's my call to ground. Ground, November 5757 Echo, off at Echo. Request progressive taxi instructions back to Gibbs.
Your radio call to ground, indicating that you've exited the active runway at Echo and requesting progressive taxi instructions back to the Gibbs line, is clear and appropriate. Here's the response you might receive. Ground control, November 5757 CSAO, Montgomery Gibbs ground, Roger. Proceed taxi via Echo, Foxtrot, hold short of runway 28 right. Ground control has acknowledged your request for progressive taxi instructions. You can proceed with the provided instructions. If you have any more questions, or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
So I'm looking at the airport diagram and I'm seeing that Echo intersects with Mike, and then I have to cross another active runway at 28 left. Can you give me another call of what I might really hear instead?
Certainly. Here's a revised radio call that you might hear and should consider when crossing multiple runways and intersections. You, ground, November 5757 Echo at Echo. Request progressive taxi to the Gibbs line via Echo, Foxtrot, and crossing runway 28 left. This call includes the specific route you intend to follow and acknowledges the runway crossing. Ground control will provide you with instructions to safely cross the active runway, which is essential for safety when taxiing at an airport with intersecting runways. If you have any more questions, or if you'd like to continue the scenario, please let me know.
Nope, that is it for now. Can you tell me a little bit more about this tool?
Of course. This tool is a customized version of ChatGPT designed specifically to assist and train individuals pursuing a private pilot's license, PPL. Its primary goal is to provide guidance, practice, and simulations related to various aspects of PPL training. Here are some key features and uses of this tool. 1. Radio communication training. It can simulate radio communication scenarios with air traffic control, ATC, helping you practice and improve your radio calls, both on the ground and in the air. 2. Check ride simulation. It can simulate a PPL check ride with a designated pilot examiner, DPE. This includes oral questioning, flight planning, maneuvers, and handling simulated emergencies. 3. Interactive learning. You can use this tool to learn about specific topics, procedures, or regulations related to PPL training. It can explain concepts, answer questions, and even quiz you on various aspects of aviation. 4. ATIS and airport information. It can provide current ATIS information and details about specific airports, including runways, frequencies, and procedures. 5. Reference materials. It has access to various FAA documents and regulations, which can be used as references for learning and answering questions. 6. Safety and practice. It emphasizes safety in all scenarios and provides opportunities for practice to enhance your skills and knowledge. Please remember that while this tool can be a valuable training aid, it's not a replacement for formal flight training at an FAA-approved flight school. If you have any specific questions, need further assistance, or would like to continue training or scenarios, feel free to let me know.
Well, there you have it. It's in a very early stage of experimental development right now, but it's very, very capable. It is a good way for people to have a simulated study buddy. It's also a good way to just have somebody else to bounce things like radio calls off of. Mine are definitely very rusty. And you can see that it definitely has some limitations. It lacks the context of what is actually on charts and actually on things like runway and airport diagrams, but we're working on that. Especially for things like nav aids or just the orientation of where you are at an airport. It clearly doesn't have that, but it has a lot of procedural knowledge, and it still has a little bit of ways to go for things like RT procedures to get very good at the phraseology, but that's all a solvable problem. We're going to keep working on it. We would love to hear your feedback. We would love to hear your experiences with it and what you're doing with it and how you might use it too. And in the meantime, happy flying. We'll see you around.